Hello students, welcome back to your videos. Today we are going to be doing union and intersections of sets. The first slide, like always, is some terminology for you guys. I will be describing them as we go along through the notes, but I want you guys to look at them right now and be familiar with them so when they come up in the notes you guys will know what I'm talking about. So we're going to get started. I think if it'll push, there we go. So find each union or intersection. A is equal to 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. B is all the positive odd integers less than 10. So let's write those right now so you guys know what those integers are. So odd integers less than 10 are 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. C is 1, 2, 4, and 7. And D is a negative integer between -5 and -1. So let's write those. Between, so it does not equal a -5 and -1, so it's -2. No, I'm sorry. Starting at -4, -3, -2. Always go from the smallest to the largest. So for number 1, it wants us to find the union between A and B. So that is all the numbers that will be represented in A or in B. So we write that. All the numbers that are in A or in B, which would be 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Because that's all the numbers that are represented in A or in B, and you guys can see that. So for number 2, D union C union B, so it's all the numbers that are represented in D or C or B. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. So, all the numbers that are in D, since those are the smallest, we're going to start with those. So we have -4, -3, -2. Then we have C and B. So B is right here, so we have 1. We have 2 that is represented in C. 3 is represented in B. 4 is represented in C. 5 is represented in B. 6 is not represented, so we don't add 6. 7 is in both, so we put 7. And then 8 is not, and 9 is. And 9 is the last number that will be represented in both of those. So that is D union C union B. So I want you guys to pause it, do number 3 on your own, and we'll come back and see if we get the same answer. Okay, you guys can see what I did. All the numbers that are represented in C or in D are -4, -3, -2, 1, 2, 4, and 7. So this is this union between C and D. I'm going to move on to number 4. Number 4 is the intersection of A and C. So does all the numbers that are represented in A and in C. So A is right here and C. So we have 1 is represented in both. 2 is not. 3 is not. 4 is not. 5 is not. But 7 is. So we have 7, and then 9 is not in both of them. So the intersection of A and C is 1 and 7. So if we go to number 5, we have the intersection of A, C, and D. So for it to be in our set, our subset, it has to be in A and in C and in D. So if you look at that, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 are not in D, and then 1, 2, 4, and 7 are not in D. So there is no number that is in A and in C and in D. So our answer is an empty set because there is no number in A, C, and D. I want you guys to do number 6, but before you go, I want you guys to change these letters to A, B, C. I think it'll be a better representation. So change it to A, B, C, and then pause it right now, and we will come back and see if we get the same answer. Okay, I'm back, and you can see that only the numbers 1 and 7 are in all three, A, B, and C. So hopefully you guys understand that. We're going to move on. So to number 7, draw a Venn diagram to represent the union and intersection of these sets. So we have V is equal to PMBADE, W is equal to ITBP, and X is equal to GERZP. So the first thing we need to do, it says draw a Venn diagram. So we're going to draw three. Oh, that's a really bad circle. I'm sorry. We're going to draw three circles. I cannot get this right. Good enough. And they're all going to intersect. And we will call this one V, this one W, and this one X. So P, let's start with P. P is in V, P is in W, and P is in X. So P is in the center because it's in all three. And we could cross that out of all three of them. So let's go to M. M, if you look, is in only V, so we put M here. B is in V and W, so we put B right there because it's in the intersection between V and W, and we cross it off. A is only in V, so A is in the V section. D is only in V, so we put D right here. E, if we look, is in V and X, so that will be in this intersection. So we cross it off of both. Since V is done, we can move over to W. I is only in W, so we could put I there. T is only in W, so we put it just in the W section. And then G, R, and Z are only in X. And we could cross those off so all the letters are represented in our Venn diagram. So you guys can see the Venn diagrams. I want you guys to pause it, do number 8 on your own, and then we will come back and make sure we get all the letters in the same circle. Okay, you can see where I put all of my letters. You guys can pause it, or you guys can just look and see and make sure you guys have the same letters in the right circles in the right place. We're going to move on to number 9. Solve each inequality, then write the solution as either a union or an intersection of the set. So the first thing we need to do is solve it. So we solve this one by subtracting 7 from each side of it to get negative 13 is less than n is less than or equal to 14. So to write that as a union or intersection, first we're going to write that in a set builder notation to get n, and then we write our inequality, negative 13 is less than n is less than or equal to 14. Oh, my fault. We only need to do the first part first because we need to write it as a union or intersection. So we have 13 is less than n, and then we're going to have n is less than or equal to 14. And close our bracket. And then we need to write it as a union or intersection, so we need a symbol right here. And if you look back on the first page, it says OR is the union and is an intersection. And when you have a combination like this, it is always an and. So our symbol is a union. And that's how you write it as a union, this inequality. So for number 10, I think it's going to help us to figure out if it's and or to write it, switch it to be 5x plus 11 is greater or equal to 4. When you try to figure out if it's and or to do greater or less than, the variable has to be on the left-hand side. So now we know it is a greater, so it's an or. So that's the first thing we need to do. And then we need to split this up. So we have 5x x plus 11 is greater than or equal to 4. And then we have negative 4 is greater than or equal to 5x plus 11. And then we need to solve both of those. So we subtract 11 from each side of this one. We have 5x is greater than or equal to negative 7. Then we divide by 5, and we get x is greater than or equal to negative 7 fifths. And then if we solve this one, subtract 11, so we get negative 15 is greater than or equal to 5x. Divide by 5, and we have negative 3 is greater than or equal to x. So then we're going to have to write this in our form as a union or an intersection. So we're going to start by writing them in the set builder notation. And since negative 3 is smaller, we're going to start with the negative 3 one. So we have x, define our variable. X is less than or equal to negative 3. And then we have our second set builder notation of x. And then x is greater than or equal to negative 7 fifths. And then if you look on your first slide, an OR is a union. So it's a union. And this whole thing is our answer. So if you need to write it up here, and is an intersection and OR is a union. So I want you guys to pause it, do number 11 on your own, and then we'll come back and make sure we get the same answer. Okay, I'm back and you can see what I did. The first thing I did is I flipped the equation to get 4d plus 16, absolute value is less than 12. So less than, so we know we have an and then I split them up. And then the first equation I got d is less than negative 1. And then the second equation I got negative 7 is less than d. So negative 7 is smallest, so I start with that and write it in our set builder notation. Then I wrote my second one in set builder notation of d is less than negative 1. And then since it's an and, it is a intersection, so I put our symbol in. And this whole thing is the answer. Hopefully you guys understood these notes. Come to class tomorrow or Thursday, and then we will answer questions. And I hope you guys have a great night.